Hey guys, I am Game Advisor, and today we're going to be going over a completely inclusive tutorial on how to build everything within Valheim, and how all the building systems work on top of that. So, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing you want to obviously go ahead and do is get yourself your hammer, and then you're going to want to place down your workbench. This really doesn't matter too much. Usually I like to build out in open fields, but that's whatever. So, the most important part about your workbench is that it has a building radius. So, if you look over here and we see these white lines, this is your building radius. I can build as long as I am standing within it. So if I wanted to build, say, right here, I could do that. If I also wanted to build outside the line, as long as my body is within it, I can also do that. Now, if I were to stand here, I could not build here because I no longer have the workbench. So that's a really good trick if you're trying to get that few extra feet for some reason. You can actually use the circle as just kind of a benchmark for how far you can build. After that, we're going to talk about how to build your first little house and a little bit about the stability. So let's go ahead and start working on that. So we're going to start out by getting our hoe. If you don't have one of these, they're really easy to make. You just need to get your workbench and some stone and wood. And then we're going to start leveling out the ground. So the trick here is to hold shift. I'm not exactly sure why this does it, but it seems to make the ground more level if you do it this way. You always want to level out your ground before you start building your home in Valheim, as it will make it significantly easier over the long haul to make your foundations on the same spot throughout the entire building. So we're just going to get a little bit of a level area here, and then we're going to go ahead and start building it. So let's get some flooring. We're going to place this down really quick, and then we're going to start talking about a little bit of the stability aspect of it as we're building this. So as you can see, some of these are green and some of these are blue. Blue means that it's a foundational piece, and that's important because a foundational piece is where it starts from. So let's say you wanted to build a really tall tower. So let's do that really quick. We're just going to build some walls here from this blue foundational piece, and we're going to go straight up. Just going to have to build a little ladder here to make it easier. Get that to snap on top if the game wants to work with me. Okay, well, we'll go horizontal. This does work vertical as well, but it's the same concept. So we have our foundational piece. This wall is touching the ground. This one's green. So if we go off from it, you'll start to notice that the walls start to change to a darker color. So it goes from green to another green, a little bit darker, a yellow, a sort of lighter colored red, and then a dark red. And then if you place another one after that, which is usually about 5 walls out from your foundational piece. So again, we have our foundational piece here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away. And then the 6th one is going to be the one that would break, just like we just had there a second ago. You can fix this by just reattaching a piece to the ground. So if you look now that we have this as our foundational piece, this whole line right here is now green, because they're less than the 6 blocks and they're now closer to getting to the foundation, where before this was red and this was dark red. Now, if you're struggling to get your stability to work the way you want it to, especially when you're building a lot of the bigger buildings, you're going to want to go ahead and try to get yourself a stone cutting table. These are really, really nice, as they allow you to build much, much higher, much easier, and I'm going to show you why that is right now. So let's go ahead and get our stone cutting table down. Again, needs to be within a workbench range to place it. So we've got our stone cutting table. If you notice, it's got a second ring for whenever I build my stone structures now. So you do need to keep that in mind while you're doing it. Let's go grab a little bit of stone. We're going to start off with, let's do a pillar. And we're going to notice, first off, this is a foundational piece, of course. It's touching the ground. Put that next one down, and it's green. And now let's build off of this a little bit. So if, let's say I wanted to build like that, stone starts to break much faster horizontally than it does vertically. So it doesn't behave necessarily the same way that the wood structures do. But let's say I want to go up a floor. and I want to go build up another pillar, just to give you an example here of what I'm talking about. So if you notice, this pillar is still all green, so we're going to go up even higher and see if we can get higher than the wood here. Place another pillar right on top. Notice again, we're still pretty green, and we're 4 pillars from the ground. So if you're looking to build a tall tower, this is going to be the way you're going to want to do it. Then you're going to grab another piece of wood, and we're going to go up another level. Go back to our stone pillar, which we need more stone, so let's grab some of that. Sadly, stone, you know, probably one of the heaviest resources in the game, so you are going to have to make multiple trips when building these things if you don't have it right next to you. And if you are ever struggling to get stone, all you need to do is pickaxe it. Just from the ground, from any little small rock, it's pretty easy to get. Let's build ourselves another little floor panel. And another pillar. And again, we're only just now hitting yellow, and we are 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks up. So, now let's say I wanted to build my tower this high. I felt this was a good enough height. Maybe I wanted to build like a little watchtower or something. And this is where the arches are going to come in, and they are going to be a lifesaver. So arches are much better than using these horizontal blocks when building outwards. So if you notice, it's only barely orange, when all the way down here, it immediately turned red. And that's because we're using the arch block and not just a plain stone horizontal block. So anytime you're building out, you're going to want to use these arches whenever you're trying to build supports. So let's go ahead and go up all the way to the top, and then we will build ourselves a little platform. Alrighty, we are up here now on top of this pillar. Let's go ahead and start making ourselves a little space where we can live. Now, keep in mind, you do have to consider the structural integrity of things, but the nice thing is anything connected to stone that is wood will automatically become a foundational piece. Let's see if I can get this to snap. There we go. So if you look at this, just for an example here, this one's only blue. So it's considering this wooden piece right here a foundational piece, where it would normally have to start from all the way down there. This piece is also foundational because it is actually touching that little piece of the stone arch underneath. So if I go out one here, you're going to see it's going to start to change that. We'll see if we can get it to place here. Yep, so there we go. Now we have a green piece. So now this is no longer foundational because it's not touching this pillar. So if I wanted to build just a ginormous platform up here, I could do that, thanks to my handy-dandy little pillars. And again, these can go higher. You can actually go, I think, another 3 or 4, maybe even 5 blocks higher and have an absolutely massive tower just peering down on everything. And then you can go another 5 blocks up with the wood tiles as well. So let's go ahead and build out ourselves a little platform, and then I will be right back through the magic of YouTube editing. Alrighty, now you guys can obviously tell that we're running into a bit of an issue here whenever we try to build this platform, and that's because it's breaking due to the stability. If I wanted to make this even bigger, all I need to do is go build myself another stone pillar up from the bottom and build it all the way back up to here with an arch, and we'd be good with the foundational piece in this corner. Of course, I'm going to need to do that, which I will here in a little bit, but for now, let's go ahead and build ourselves a ladder going all the way down. Okay, so we just had another issue here where the ladder has now broken due to stability, and that's a really, really easy fix. All you need to do, I mean, you can do this with wood poles. It would be better to do with logs or with stone pillars, but I'm running a little bit low on stone, so I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and use a log pole right here in order to create the stability so that it chains all the way up. Again, stability here, guys, it works just like electricity would. It's going to look for the fastest route to decide if it's stable enough to a foundational block. And again, this ladder here, that's a foundational block because it's connected. This ladder here is a foundational block because it's connected to that stone arch. So that means that this is all only 2 blocks away from a foundational piece, where normally all this would be 4 blocks away if I didn't have this pillar, or if I had it all the way up there, it would have to go all the way up this wooden wall and then all the way down, which just, that wouldn't happen. The stability would break way too fast. So one of the things to keep in mind with stone is that it does not decay out from the storms. So it's really, really nice if you want to just leave it out there and not have to roof it, because this pole will decay if I don't put a roof over it. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to go ahead and build a stone pillar instead, because I know that won't decay and I don't have to worry about putting a roof over it. That's something, in case you guys didn't know, by the way, why your buildings are falling apart. It's just simply because the roofs have to be, it has to be a thatch roof. It can't just be like a floor tile. You need to have an actual thatch roof over the building in order to place down something that will not decay. And again, stone is exempt from this, so it does not qualify. So let's go ahead and finish our ladder off. And boom, we have a way to get up. Nice and easy. This way I don't have to have this weird janky little thing going up the pillar, and I can build myself a nice pretty platform or a building up here. You could build a tower. You could do really whatever you want with it. And that's the nice thing, is these stone pillars, guys, once you get to them, they are so useful. If you guys were wondering what the materials are to build the stone cutter, all you're going to need is 2 iron, 4 stone, and 10 wood. To get the iron, you're going to have to have already beaten the second boss. If you haven't beaten him, there's no way to get iron prior to that. So is what it is. If you're trying to build really ginormous, big, tall structures, you're going to want to be using stone and integrating it into your builds, as it's going to make the stability a lot easier to deal with. Alrighty, so next we're going to be going over how to build yourself a chimney. Chimneys are important in Valheim because they are going to give you a way to cook when it is raining outside, or go to sleep when it's raining, because you have to have a fire lit in order to do all of those different things. So you're going to want to start out by building those half walls there at the bottom, followed up by going ahead and building yourself a little outline for your chimney. I'm just going to build a little square here. There are more complex designs you guys can make. This is just the one that I like to use because it's simple, it looks good, and it doesn't take all that much work to do. Do be careful though, if you fall into your fire pit, which I've already managed to do a few times, it can end very badly. Let's go ahead and build ourselves a little way to get up. Oh, stupid brute, go away. I am making a video here, Mr. Brute. Leave me alone. Thank you. Was that so hard? Alright, so let's get back to what we were doing. Gotta wait for stamina. Hooray. Thank you again, Mr. Brute, for just absolutely ruining my YouTube videos. Alright, so let's go ahead and hop back up. We're going to build another little platform here so I can make sure I get up here. And then we're going to go ahead and start working on our roofing. I like to use the 45-degree angle roof. It just looks pretty to me. The reasoning that we're doing this is so that A, all these blocks don't decay, and B, it will also make sure that when rain comes, it will not go down into your campfire, allowing you to still sleep and do all those other things. So now I could build, you know, just an ugly freaking block right here and try to block it in, but instead, we're going to go ahead and find the 45-degree wood wall, because I do want my house to look kind of pretty. Doesn't matter that much in Valheim, but it does make it nice. I mean, I like the building aspect, so we're going to go ahead and do it. And boom, there you go. You've now got a working chimney that functions exactly how it needs to in order to keep the rain out. Now, you can obviously do other things like, you know, maybe add a bigger one, or you can make a more complex one that goes much higher. You can build it out of stone. I mean, I've even seen chimneys go 20 blocks high using the stone pillars to support it. I don't think that's necessary. This is all you really need in order to get your campfire working and be able to go to bed or cook food in the middle of the night when it's raining. So next up, we're going to be talking about building decay in Valheim and why it works the way it does. And if you can't understand why your buildings are decaying when you think you're doing it right, I'm going to show you right here how to solve that problem. So let's go ahead and build these 4 foundations, and then we're going to build ourselves a little wall. And then we're going to build a double wall here just for explanation purposes. So let's say you're sitting here and you've got a building. Maybe you decided, you know what, I'm going to use these floor tiles. Well, that's the first problem you messed up with. These floor tiles will not prevent any other parts of your building from decaying. You have to use the thatch roofs, as we discussed earlier. So what you need to do is when you're placing these thatch roofs, you have to make sure they snap, just like I did here. And I'm going to give you a couple examples of what might happen to you when you're not being careful with it. So like, let's say I place it here. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to connect all these thatched roofs. All right, yeah, it's protected, right? No. If you walk around the back, you can see these are actually not connected to the wall. Had I placed them properly, they would look more like this. You see how this thatch is actually covering that back corner of the wall? That's how you know you've placed the block correctly. These walls would not be protected in this scenario, and they would start to decay. Do keep in mind that if you are using wooden structures and they are submerged in water, maybe you're building a dock or something, they are going to decay rather quickly, and there's not a whole lot you can do about that. All you really need to make sure, though, is when you're building your house, that each one of these roofs, wherever floor you're building them on, are snapped properly to the wall they're coming off of, and then each one from thereafter is also snapped to the wall. Do not build them like this, because if you messed up any wall beforehand, all the rest of them will get messed up. You always, always, always want to snap your roofs directly to the wall itself. And again, if you're not sure, just come look on the outside. You don't want to see that little lip. Sorry, let me place that right. You do not want to see that little lip right here. That means you've placed it wrong and it's going to decay. Now, I did forget one thing, so just to remind you guys and give you an idea here how this is working, this roof tile right here does protect both of these walls and this floor tile right here. So this entire line is protected from this one roof. So if I were to build out another roof per se, if I could get it to snap properly, let's see if I can get this to work. Come on, game, work with me. There we go. So if I built it like this, this would be protecting everything in a one square grid going down from that spot. So if I place this block here, this would be protected by that roof. Now, if I did something like this, and I off-centered the little block and I didn't get the snap absolutely perfect, say I did something like that, this block is no longer protected by that thatch roof. And that's because it's not snapped to the grid. Everything in your entire building needs to be snapped to the same grid of the very first block you placed, otherwise it will not work properly. The only exception to this rule is when you're building pillars to help support something, if I were to say do something like that. Now, if you're anything like me when you're playing Valheim, you may run into a situation where you just don't have enough space in your building. So there's a really easy way to solve this in order to create more space for your loot. All you need to do is go ahead and place your first chest down, and then you're going to go ahead and go over to your building menu, and you're going to put a wood floor 1x1 directly above it, and then you can place another 2 chests if you fit them just right next to each other, and you can do this pretty high as well. This goes about as high as you can place your wall. It will be about 1 short just because of stability reasons. But the point is that instead of having to have 10 chests laid out here, I now can put everything stacked in one big tall area, and I save myself an immense amount of space inside your building. Alrighty, now if you're anything like me, you'll often forget to repair a tool when you go out, or maybe you just had a weapon break or some armor and you want to quickly fix them while you're running around. But unfortunately, you don't have a workbench at your disposal, and if you place one down in Valheim, it won't be usable until you give it a roof. So the easiest way to solve this is we're going to start by building ourselves a pillar directly behind it, and then we're going to get a 45-degree thatch roof and try to get it as far over onto it as we possibly can while still placing on the side of the pillar. Just like so. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. And you may run into an issue where it says that it still needs a roof. If that happens, that just means you placed it a little too far. We can just destroy it. And then we're going to go ahead and replace this workbench as close to this pole as we can get. And you may also run into the issue where it says the station's too exposed now. So now the roofing's working, but it's still too exposed. In order to fix that, all you need to do is place a wall on each side of it in order to enclose it in just a little bit. And then you should be able, if you did it right, to use your workbench. Unfortunately, sometimes you'll still get issues with it. And all you need to do is just keep building that wall around it until it decides it wants to work. It can be a bit finicky. I know it's annoying, but Valheim's a little weird sometimes, and there you go. Now I've got a workable repair bench. I can craft anything I needed. I could repair any tools, and I'm good. And let's say I'm done, and you know I'm not going to be in this area much longer, so I can just delete it all. Make sure you obviously delete your workbench last, as that is the piece that you need to delete everything else. And you'll get all your resources back, and you can head back out on your adventures. Just remember, guys, you need to have 20 wood or a hammer and a hammer with you, or at least bring an axe with you wherever you go, so that you can do this even if you didn't bring those resources and you weren't prepared.
Thank you guys so much for watching our Valheim building guide, and don't forget to subscribe if you liked the video. If you would like to see more in-depth tutorial videos, make sure you let us know in the comments section down below. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you next time.